So thank you all for coming today. We're really excited to have you here and to let you know what Health at UC Davis is all about. I'm Stacey Bresing, the Director of Staff and Faculty Health and Wellbeing, and also the Health at UC Davis lead. And the other admin team members that work on Health at UC Davis officially are Connie Tan up there, and Hoda Sultani, our graduate student researcher. And so we're really excited to be here and to put this together for you all. The agenda today will be, we were going to have some time for introductions, which we're taking right now. I will be sort of going through the background of the origin of Health at UC Davis and the original projects that we funded and the programs that we funded and projects we funded this last round as well. And then we'll take a quick break where we'll do some stretching. We try to promote healthy meetings here. And so we'll take a quick break, do some stretches, and we have a few questions to ask you in the break time as well to put into chat. And then Hoda will be going over our strategic planning that we did a couple years ago and how that directed what we did for this last year and where we're going. And then each work group lead, which was a result from that strategic planning, where these work groups will go over their progress for the year and their hopes for this next year of what they want to accomplish. And then we'll conclude and answer any questions and address any comments. So we're really excited to have you all here. And yeah, I think we can get started. So who are we, or who we are? So probably not everyone knows, but back in 2017, we received a small startup budget from UCOP, from UC Office of the President. And that was an initiative from Jenna Napolitano. She wanted each UC to create their own healthy campus network. And so we took that initiative and formed a steering committee formed with different partners all across the university, including health and campus, and brought together people passionate to make, basically the mission for Healthy Campus Network was to make UC the healthiest place to work, learn, and live across the state. So it was founded on a vision that to change our health environment, we have to invest in a lot of small changes at the campus level, and that this would add up to meaningful shifts and a lasting culture of health. So when this charge came down, we put our heads together as a steering committee and came up with, well, if you go to the next slide, Connie, I can show you kind of a lot of, so Health at UC Davis is made up of a lot of partners. So if you see here, we have people from administrative services, support services, environmental services, health services, recreation service, academic services. And this is just a partial list. It keeps growing and growing. And that's why we were so excited to have you all here as well. If you decide to join us and to help us with this mission in any way, to just add you to our partner list, our stakeholder list for Health at UC Davis, and to help us really create that culture of health and well-being at UC Davis. So after we got to all these partners together and put our heads together, we came up with our mission, vision, and values. So the vision of Health at UC Davis, which is what we call our Healthy Campus Network here at Davis, is to make UC Davis the healthiest community in the nation. And then our mission, we decided, was to champion a thriving culture of health and well-being throughout the UC Davis community. So like I said, that encompasses retirees, it encompasses alumni, it encompasses students, staff, faculty, everyone related to UC Davis. And so we had a couple of objectives to get us to these missions, to get us to accomplish this mission, creating comprehensive, integrative, and collaborative leading practice initiatives and programs, provide UC Davis community members with support, opportunity, and information and tools to engage in healthy behaviors. And then as well as advocating for policies, institutional practices, and a built environment that promotes health and well-being. And then at the same time, we wanted to continuously examine and evaluate what we were doing to make sure that we were on the right track and to keep improving our programs and practices and the well-being of our community. And lastly, to align the communication resources to ensure coordinated outreach efforts. I'm sure everyone has experienced silos here at UC Davis. And so our mission, we took it as an objective to really put together a one-stop shop for health and well-being here at UC Davis. And yeah, it's a work in progress, but I think we've made some great progress in the last couple of years. Yeah. So when we first began, we also had some funding. So we needed to fund a few projects to get us started on our way. So we broke up into 4 key domains of health: nutrition and food, physical activity, mental and emotional health and well-being, and smoke and tobacco free. And so these were the 4 key areas that we funded projects through. Next slide, please. Okay, so our initial projects were, excuse me, the stairwell project. So this one is where we beautified stairwells to help people, encourage people to use the stairs instead of the elevator. And then we also funded walking paths. So we had walking loops throughout campus and UC Davis Health put in, and little markers, you can see that in the picture there, where people could find these 1-mile loops and be able to walk them on campus. Active Aggies Mobile was a program that we funded that would bring exercise and physical activity opportunities to locations so that people could participate during their lunch hour. Wake Break was a program at UC Davis Health that helped people take a break in their day if they were had more of a sedentary position. They would get up and have a 15-minute workout. If they were a nurse walking the floor, they'd have more 15-minute break, mindfulness break. So that was a great program that we're still continuing to this day. Mindfulness opportunities. We did a mindfulness-based stress reduction program over at Health. And then we also did a mindfulness awareness practices course that we are also continuing over on this campus at the moment. And then manager and supervisor mental health training was another project we funded. Training managers and supervisors how to help their employees experiencing mental health issues. Jewel Health, which is now Kumanu, was a pilot project trying to see how purpose would affect people's well-being, and that was through an app. So that was an interesting project that we tried out. Diabetes prevention program was a great program that we are continuing to this day as well, and has become fully accredited by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So we're very proud of that program. Nourish was a food labeling system that has been implemented at Health and on campus. And in fact, they're using the Nourish guidelines, which are criteria developed by dietitians at Health and on campus to create patient meals as well at the hospital. So this was also a very great project to get going, and I'm really excited to see where that one's going. Food access map, so a map that shows people where to access food, especially students on the Davis campus. And then mental and emotional well-being open access resources is also a very great resource that is constantly being vetted and kept up to date to create resources for the entire community, and actually it's open access to everyone. So that's those were our initial programs, and we've been able to, which has been great, keep most of them sustainable and move them under other programs and units on campus and our partners. So our next funding cycle was made available to us because the chancellor, after our seed funding had ended from OP, the chancellor was gracious enough to fund us for another 5 years. So we are now funded to complete other projects to change the environment. And so these were the 7 projects that we chose 2 years ago in 2019. And we have another funding cycle coming up this spring, which is an opportunity for maybe some of you to apply for funds if that's a way you'd like to get involved with Health UC Davis to complete a project to help us with our mission. So the ones that we funded last year were Not Just Water Vapor, which is a vaping campaign, and the Food and Beverage Environmental Audit Tool and Surveillance System. So taking a look at all the food and beverages sold at Health and on campus and creating a system that can track those and basically see what the environment is all about with those, so we can make some changes. Building virtual attendance, which became very timely, I suppose you could say, in these times. It's good we had Health UC Davis was really trying to increase accessibility and for our programs. So that was a good project to start before COVID hit. Making the catered food choice the easy and affordable choice. So I don't know how many of you have had catered meals on campus or at Health. They have some amazing healthy food, but it's usually a lot more expensive. And so we were trying to figure out ways to make catered food on campus the easy and affordable choice. And Linda and Jen are still working on that project right now. Evaluating perceived barriers to CalFresh participation was a project that basically looked at students and what their barriers were to participating in the CalFresh program, which really gave some good information on how we can tackle that issue and getting students the help they need when they have food insecurity. Aggie Quits was an app-based program from the Mayo Clinic that we funded to help people stop smoking. And then last but not least, the Outdoor Healthy Space Assessment was very timely. We actually were able to help leadership when we got sent home because they were looking for places to basically hold classes and have a healthy space outside not post-COVID, but during COVID, during these times that we've reopened campus a little bit to our students and staff and faculty. So their assessment came in very handy. Little did we know. So those are all the funded projects that we funded this year. And we're really looking forward to seeing what ideas people come up with for our next funding cycle. The letter of intent should be going, we'll be advertising that coming up soon. And yeah, we're really excited to see what people have to send our way. So last but not least, Health UC Davis was also in charge of the Healthy Beverage Initiative, which was more funding that came from OP, Office of the President, to promote water. So we have received funding to make installations across campus and at Health of water filtration systems in places that were, we completed a survey, people who requested these in these areas, or we had done an environmental scan as well to see where our water deserts were. So as you can see, we had basically almost completed this project. We were about to install all the water filtration systems when COVID hit and everyone was sent home. But we've still been able to make great progress. This is from Jen Falb and Sarah Solar's team that have done an amazing job pushing this through. So we have a lot of locations that we are putting new water filtration systems in, and hands-free ones in some areas as well as that becomes requested in these times. So it was pretty timely, a pretty timely project also. And if you want to see the one thing is we also tapped into our art students, our graphic design students, to, if you see on the left there, that's their design and motto for our campaign. So we're really excited to launch this campaign when we finally get to put up our signage pretty soon here. So they liked puns for some reason, and yeah, they had some really cute designs that they put together. Future goals of this program, again, install the hydration stations, and then we're going to hopefully put up the awesome signage soon. So yes, and I think that brings me to our stretch break. So Connie was nice enough to put some example stretches up on our slide here. And so these are just from our ergonomist at Occupational Health, Hamid Fanouni, and he's amazing. If you haven't had a chance to work with him, I know a lot of us are working from home these days or studying from home these days, and he has a great page to help out with your ergonomics if you ever want to check that out. But these are some good desk stretches. And while we're stretching, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. And so we came up with a couple of questions. And one is, what brought you to our informational session today? And what is one thing or idea you have to make UC Davis the healthiest community in the nation? So I'm going to encourage you all to actually turn off your cameras if you'd like to take your stretches. Give your eyes a break from the screen. I know all of us are in Zoom overload these days, and this is a pretty long meeting. So if you want, turn off your cameras, take some stretches, and when you get a chance, answer these questions in the chat. I don't want to fail to mention that if you do become part of Healthy UC Davis, you get one of these awesome t-shirts. It says Healthy UC Davis in this wonderful green color. So just a plug for our lovely t-shirts. And I will hand it over to Hoda. She will tell you about, start off with how we came up with our 5 work groups and sort of the way that we are attempting to change the culture here at UC Davis.
Thanks, Stacy. So I thought it was a really fitting question to ask before the break about what your ideas might be for how we can make Healthy UC Davis the healthiest campus in the nations. Because whether or not you participated in that chat, I would imagine that everyone would kind of come at it with a unique perspective or a unique goal or something that they envision would help to do that. And that is great. That's the many voices and stories of UC Davis is what makes us an awesome institution to be at. And our goal was to take all of those and channel it into an organization that helps to actually push forward those goals. And so, as Stacy mentioned, we were initially funded in 2017 by the Office of the President. And then because of all the amazing programming and all the hard work of the steering committee, we were actually able to secure funding from the Chancellor in fall 2018 for 5 years. And so the question then became, well, what is the best use of these resources and how do we use it to advance the goals and also leverage some of our learnings from that preliminary year to really serve the community and to make those dollars really stretch. And so we went through an iterative process to be able to do that, starting with a call for feedback from the UC Davis population, where we just sent out a survey to through as many channels as we could to get feedback from the UC Davis community about what kind of programming and services and needs they had, what needs they had and what services and programming could help serve those needs in the next few years. And we got a lot of different feedback, and we basically summarized the feedback and had a meeting with key players in the UC Davis kind of health, key stakeholders in who had a foot in UC Davis health programming. And that is very broad, by the way. It's not related to direct program provision, but also thinking about our landscape, thinking about the different types of people that we have at UC Davis. So we had human resources there. We had a lot of key players who who were responsible or as part of their every day-to-day life were thinking about issues that could help our community thrive and be well. So we had that meeting in February, and that helped inform some key takeaways that we use to shape the structure of Healthy UC Davis moving forward. So we identified some priority areas based on the strategic planning. So there were 5 core areas that we identified. And then new to this year, in light of kind of the social reckoning that we have experienced over the summer and really recognizing our responsibility to play our part in reconciling some inherent social issues in our community, we added a new one this year. And each of these priority areas has shaped into a work group that tackles these issues in their own specific and strategic ways. So new to this year, we have diversity and inclusion. We have One Place, which is our communications work group. We have a metrics work group, a physical space work group, a leadership support work group, and a policy change work group. And in this part of the presentation, I'm just going to hand it off to the managers of each respective work group, and they'll tell you a little bit more about the work that they do. So first off, is Brenda here?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Scalzi. I am the admin director at Student Health and Counseling Services, and I've been on the steering committee actually way back before Healthy UC Davis was actually a thing. I worked in the department that had all the money, and so I worked very closely with Stacy on getting this up and running from a financial standpoint. So Healthy UC Davis has always been kind of near and dear, and I got to participate in the strategic planning as well. So I'm very excited to be leading the diversity, equity, and inclusion work group. And we've just had 2 meetings so far, and we're really just kicking off. And so if you're interested in joining us, we would love to have you. So this is our group that we have so far. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So just to start off with a couple of definitions, DEI is how you'll often hear it referred to, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I wanted to kind of level set that for everyone if that's a new term to you. And then health. This is part of our mission vision at Healthy UC Davis, and it just really kind of captures what we're trying to do: a state of complete and physical mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And this is the World Health definition. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So just a little background, Hoda kind of touched on this. We had a special meeting of the steering committee where we invited the DEI office, Michael Villalobos and Adrienne Lawson, to come and speak to us as we started the thought process of incorporating DEI into Healthy UC Davis and what that might look like. There was a follow-up meeting later in July where we got more direct recommendations from them about how we could proceed. We got feedback from the folks that participated in that special July 9th meeting, and then we've had our first 2 meetings. We had our second one earlier this week to just kind of talk about what our short and long-term goals were for this work group and what was feasible and how we can support the overall Healthy UC Davis steering committee. So a lot of great energy from the folks that have been able to participate, and definitely welcome more folks to join us. Next slide, please. So our objectives, as it were, and these definitely are really meant to be kind of fluid, because we are still a new work group. We want to kind of be able to flow with what we kind of identify as we have these continuing conversations, but these kind of are the initial goals that we outlined. We want to follow the campus strategic plan to boldly go, goal 3, which is enacting the strategic vision of the campus diversity, equity, and inclusion office. We want to review our existing initiatives with that lens to see where there might be opportunities for changing the language to be to have those initiatives be more inclusive of the broad communities that we have across UC Davis. We also want to review our mission and vision and just, kind of check it with that language. And I should also state that the DEI office has volunteered to partner with Healthy UC Davis to guide us and kind of mentor us as we start on this journey. This really is an important topic for Healthy UC Davis and UC Davis in general, and we want to make sure that we include the right partners, and certainly the DEI office is a great place to start. And then something we talked a lot about on Monday of this week was the project approval process. As we're getting ready to start to have a spring campaign, we want to ensure that our process is inclusive of all the different identities that we have across our UC Davis community, and that the process is inviting to those communities and invites them to be a part of UC Davis. And so it's exciting work. It's a lot of work, but we have some great folks who want to be a part of it. So this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. So my next slide is kind of a appeal of what we've done so far. Healthy UC Davis is part of the Campus Community Book Project program development for this year, and then we've had our initial few meetings. And so my last slide, which I thought was next, but now it's the next one, is we're going to need support. We're going to need participation. We're going to need that energy, and having folks participate and contribute is going to be really important as we move this dial forward and enhance what is already a great program of Healthy UC Davis by incorporating the DEI into what we do. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. So I'm going to throw it off to Sandy now, who can talk a little bit more about communications.
Okay, so One Place Communications, and the reason we have two names is when we started, there was no one place for health, well-being on campus. Like Stacy had mentioned, we had all sorts of organizations doing wonderful work, but not one place to find it. So we started out as One Place, but we're basically kind of the communications committee. Next slide. The goal of our work group was to establish a one-stop shop and other communication methods for all things well-being for all campus affiliates. So staff, students, faculty, retirees, even the community to some extent. Our goal was to try and find a way for people to find what they need. So, all right. So our objectives this year, move a little bit forward from our objectives last year from the work we have. So refining our outward facing website for all campus constituents. So when we started, the Healthy UC Davis website was very, it kind of laid out what we were doing, all the stuff that Stacy talked about at the beginning, you know, our mission and the 4 areas and what we were doing, and it was really focused on kind of trying to introduce what we did. And this past year, we shifted that into a one-stop shop. So a place where people can go and learn and see, hey, I want to do, is there any meditation going on today? Or is there any anything about diabetes prevention or smoke tobacco free or farmers markets, or what's going on, anything health and well-being. So we did sort of shift that, but we are still in the process of refining that. We're trying to improve the search function of that. In doing that, it takes quite a bit of staffing that right now Communications does not have. VOA Communications is the agency that has been putting together that website, but with COVID, they've been really impacted. So that's we just really haven't had the time to do that. And of course, those of us who are on the committee haven't had the time. So this year we are working on kind of refining that and trying to figure out how to improve the search so that it's pulling up things people need in a simple manner. So that work will continue. Promoting the branding across campus, the Healthy UC Davis branding, improving established campus communications. So, you know, there's different campuses have different ways of communicating, some which are better than others. So just trying to stay in those discussions as to how to best message people. And then building the Instagram account. So we started the Instagram account last year. So last year was, we had a really great intern and she kind of pulled together a little bit of branding and a little bit of, you know, just sort of getting it out the door, introducing us, getting people to join. And so we do have an intern this year who will be continuing that work, and we're really excited to work with her. Next slide. So this is a post from last year. So you can see it kind of has a, thank you, Kiva. You can see it has a little bit of a branding to it. It has our name there. We try and use campus-based photos rather than stock, but sometimes that's been hard, especially this year that everyone has left campus. So hopefully we will try and include that a little more this year. Let's see. Oh, we have almost 600 followers, and Kiva can talk about that if she wants to. Kiva has been over 600 now. Okay, so we have quite a few followers. So this is something that we hope people can push out. We're also on Slack, yep. So just keep pushing those things out, inviting your friends, finding us online or in your social media. And so that's something that we are just trying to move forward with this year. And I think that's it. We have one more. Oh, needs. So funding for some website redesign time, which again, FOA does that for us. We do use funds for their time, but there's always more needed. Unfortunately, like I said, they're really kind of strapped right now with COVID. So we're looking for, we are hoping to get a student to spend some time digging through the resources and look through to see, to improve those search functions, because it's kind of one of those things that you have to know where everything is and input it in order for it to show up. So that takes a lot of time. So hopefully to have some time for that. And then of course we did just hire our social media student who's going to be working on our Instagram account for this upcoming year. Now I think that's it. Yep. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Sandy. Thanks for laying that out. And so, once we go through all the work groups, I'll talk a little bit about how we all work together with the hope of, you know, creating a unified, streamlined voice, and that very much comes into play with the one place. And Sandy has done a lot of work to kind of push things along and get the work group up and going and do a lot of great work, as well as the entire work group. So next we'll talk to
Yeah, sorry, shout out to Kiva. She does,
and Kiva.
Kiva and Liz do the lion's share of the work.
Awesome. We give recognition where it's due at Healthy UC Davis. It's part of our ethos. I think it follows, it tracks very well. So next I'm going to throw it to Connie, who can talk a little bit more about metrics.
Great, thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Connie. I'm the program coordinator for both staff and faculty health and wellbeing, as well as Healthy UC Davis. It's great to see you. I'm currently the lead for metrics, and so I'll go a little bit over what we hope to accomplish in this work group. So one of our main goals is to become a data collection resource for wellness programs and offerings to further our Healthy UC Davis vision to make this campus one of the healthiest places to work, learn, and live. And so somebody actually asked me during a previous work group presentation, whether we keep data on how many people utilize these services. And so that's what we are trying to do, and potentially seeing where we can unify some of the data collection so that it's, we're collecting the same data across all different programs. And so that way it's easier to compile into a final report. And so some of our objectives are to continue building a work group comprised of UC Davis staff, academics, students. Well, anybody really interested in it can definitely join us. So it's not just limited to those groups. We'd also like to identify what data is being collected within Healthy UC Davis for programming and projects. Again, trying to learn how we can potentially unify what some of the metrics that we're currently collecting, and kind of thinking ahead for some of the proposals we might be getting in 2021. And then also identifying how to collect this data and what questions to ask. Additionally, we've done a little bit of work collecting kind of those big surveys that get sent out annually. So those staff engagement surveys are one example, and trying to see where and if they ask any questions about health and well-being of the UC Davis community. So we've done a little bit of collection for that. So it's not just our programming, but also seeing what's existing. And some of our needs are definitely enthusiasm for metrics and data collection. So what I really enjoy about our current group is we all, at some point metrics is in our lives and it impacts the work that we do. And so while none of us, we do clearly have experts in the group, but for me, I'm definitely a metrics and data collection enthusiast. So I am looking for anybody who would like to join, and then any expertise to help research best practices. And that's it. So it was pretty short. Thanks.
Thanks, Connie. All right. Next, I'm going to throw it to Stacy Parker for physical space, or is it going to be Ingrid? Oh, Stacy, okay.
Well, I think Ingrid's on here too, so I'm hoping she'll want to pipe in because this is a team effort. There she is. Hello. And welcome everybody who's new here. We really are so happy to see all of you. So I just want to reiterate that I am Stacy Parker. I am a Gateways horticulturist with the Arboretum and Public Garden, and I have been chairing this group. Although we have been dormant due to COVID more recently, but I'm happy to say that we have meetings back on the map scheduled. So physical space is, I have the definition that came out of our strategic plan in front of me. It's recognizing that space is a huge factor in the health and well-being of the community. Healthy UC Davis will enhance what is available and work to advocate for intentional design and use of space and facilities. So in order to tackle that, you can go to our next slide, I think. Oh, look at this. This is different than what I have in front of me, but this is good. Okay. So actually that's a nicer way of saying it. Optimize the available physical resources on campus. So it's for programming and also well-being. And so what we felt we needed to do was to start with doing an inventory both of indoor and outdoor spaces on both the Davis campus and the Sacramento campus as well. And so we divided up into subcommittees that started tackling those things from like their areas of expertise. So we had a couple of people who were focused on the health campus, and then we had people who were focused here. And then we had a third subcommittee devoted to communications, because like once we actually have all that information, we wanted to make sure that we tackled some of the logistics around people being able to have access to that space, knowing about those spaces, and then additionally knowing like some more health messaging around getting outside and the importance of getting outside, and the health benefits of getting moving, taking breaks, taking walking meetings, things like that. So Ingrid, should I hand this over to you for writing for this one? Maybe. I can say the first bullet point, we did have standing regular meetings for a time before we did it, and we're about to have them again, so that's very exciting. And then Ingrid, we actually got some funding through the Healthy UC Davis in order for Ingrid's department, which is Campus Planning and Environmental Sustainability, to have a couple of students that worked on this unbelievable outdoor healthy space assessment, which, as Stacy mentioned earlier, like we couldn't have been, it was like as though we knew that the pandemic was coming. It was kind of amazing in that way. So they have completed phase 1 of that, and you can see this map on here. They have so many beautiful maps and figures in this report that they put together. It's incredible, but it basically characterizes the different typologies on the campuses, and so that we could look for not only where are we doing well, but also what are the opportunities, so that if funding comes along, and we can have an understanding of our priorities, that like, wow, it'd be really great to have outdoor seating in this area. And I also want to do a shout out to Babette from RMI, because we actually applied for funding to get outdoor seating, but didn't get it. And all of these folks rallied together and did joint fundraising, and the taste event was like all of the funds raised through that actually went to support outdoor seating that's now over in the courtyard near the Good Life Garden in the Robert Mondavi Institute complex, which is super exciting, and a part of the kind of work that we're trying to do. We're really trying to enable that. And that was a huge effort, because that is not cheap furniture, let me tell you. Anyway, that's a whole other story, but I sometimes digress. We have also been, like I said, conducting the indoor space inventory. Connie has been a huge part of that. Janelle has been a huge part of that. And I think that we're still, that's still in progress, and there's more to be done in there, especially with reaching out to various building occupants to see, like, is this space available for people to reserve for healthy meeting space? Because sometimes, like cost is a barrier. And so trying to gather that information. So we're going to take that to the next step. Maybe next slide. So this year we're like the second phase of the outdoor healthy space assessment. Do you want to say anything about that, Ingrid?
I mean, you've been doing a good job so far.
Well, I will say that this is like a huge priority. Like we have been, since the pandemic, we've been, like the Arboretum being a botanic garden was only one of 7 nationwide to stay open during the pandemic. And we have been flooded with people like in all of our natural spaces, like the reserve, everything has been overflowing, like our national parks, state parks, with like a major need, because we're all finding a lot of restoration in getting outside, spending time outside. So this has been, while it was like sort of a hunch before, it's more of, it's you know, like it's actually essential. It's the healthiest place to be, or safest, I should say. And so we're really elevating this and aligning all of our work towards this effort this year on a focus towards how we can support healthy, safe, like recreation, learning, everything outdoors as a campus, as the Arboretum and Public Garden, where it's going to be integrated into our longer term physical design framework for campus planning. And all of this work that is being supported by the Healthy UC Davis is going to go, you know, like go into this long-term planning so that we're really enabling people to get outside, much easier to take breaks, to meet outside, to learn outside, engage with each other and things like that. So we're really excited about that. And then the other piece is that communications piece, because, you know, like that's nice and everything, but what if nobody knows about it? Well, that's our job, is to make sure that everybody knows about it. And so we're really going to work, actually, we're hoping to really partner closely with FOA Communications. And that was part of this work group, is that we had that partnership kind of already set up to, and what we realized, we met with them initially last year, but the timing didn't seem as strategic because like they were still doing that initial work into the One Place website. But now it's sort of time for us to really be pointing to this as these resources. So we're excited to re-engage with that. And we have a couple of new members who have joined us. So we're all like reinvigorated and I would say up for the challenge, because it's just like, so the time is right. So we're excited to meet the moment. Anyway, thank you all. I think that's it. Oh, whoops, needs. Just real quickly, so further connections with owners of physical space on campus, we are really hoping that, you know, like there might be some synergies in terms of those priorities. Like maybe there's, you know, like real needs in terms of like outdoor programming or infrastructure support or something that would, so we're hoping to understand some of that lens as well, to bring that to bear in terms of our planning and priorities. And then as always, student time and resources are like, who doesn't need more of that? But yeah, anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Stacy. That was a great overview of some of the work that you guys have been working really hard on. And I think it's so timely right now to like understand what space we have available to us, because once campus does fully reopen, we're going to have to be very conscious of how we spread out and what that looks like. So it's, I think, really great that we have something in place as a starting point to make some decisions. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Stacy and Ingrid and the whole physical space group. So for leadership support, I'm going to throw it to Jeff.
Hey everyone, Jeff Heiser from Campus Recreation, and I have the privilege of working with this leadership support group made up of a number of really fantastic individuals who are all committed to furthering the work of Healthy UC Davis by garnering support from leadership on campus. And as we all know, that it's we can have really great grassroots or staff initiatives, but it's through our supportive leadership that we get funding, that we get publicity, and can further the work of our group. So let's see the next slide. Awesome. So overall, our overall goal developed from the strategic planning process is to advocate and obtain leadership buy-in, and as well as buy-in and support, with a lofty goal of making an amendment to the principles of community. We really feel that that goal will be will be a kind of a cornerstone of the work of Healthy UC Davis and promoting health and wellness as a campus priority by eventually getting into the principles of community. And for now, we are working to continue to obtain leadership support and buy-in on all levels. So next slide. So some of our objectives over this last year, during the strategic planning process, we came up with a number of goals: sustainable funding, secured beyond 5 years, communication structure reporting standard to the chancellor and provost. Principles of community will include an amendment to include wellness, as well as some supervisor training specific to well-being, and requirement that departments utilize metrics that are developed. The three that we take off this long list of goals were that are here on this slide: attendance and participation of leadership at Healthy UC Davis events, getting leadership buy-in and attendance at Healthy UC Davis committee meetings, and presence of Healthy UC Davis and presence of Healthy UC Davis at student association meetings. So the Associated Students, the Senate, as well as graduate student associated meetings. I did see the comment. This is very campus focused. We have two campuses, Sacramento and Davis, as well as all of our satellite locations for Davis. So I'd say it is focused on UC Davis as a whole, both Sacramento and Davis and beyond. And thanks, Stacy. Dr. Lebarski is prominently featured and is very supportive of Healthy UC Davis. Cool. So progress over the last year. We obtained several quotes of support from Lebarski and Chancellor May. We established a targeted list of events on both the Sacramento campus, as well as Davis, that we want to invite when these events are up and running and back in person, that we want to invite leadership to. And as well, we've identified some student leadership groups, the professional association groups in Sacramento on the Sacramento campus, as well as several groups at UC Davis, the Davis campus, to target and garner support from student leadership. Some objectives as we're moving forward: continued increased leadership attendance and participation at Healthy UC Davis events, increased student leadership involvement, ASUCD, so the Senate, as well as student associations, which is primarily focused on our professional schools in Sacramento, so the medical and nursing school, and then continued quotes of support from new campus leadership from the new provost, as well as new vice chancellor of student affairs. There's a lot of opportunity to continue to gain leadership support, and we aim to continue moving that forward with the new leadership. I think that's the end of, yeah. So we are looking for folks who are connected to leadership on campus, as well as are great at brainstorming ideas to get Healthy UC Davis on the forefront of our leadership's mind. And so if you are someone who is interested in helping to market, helping to push forward Healthy UC Davis with campus leadership in Sacramento and certainly in Davis, it would be great to have you all on board.
Thanks, Jeff. And as you can see, we've made a lot of great strides in building our visibility and making sure that people know about us all throughout the campuses. And we're very fortunate to say that we have some valuable partners on both campuses as well, that we know, even if we don't need them in the short term to to build anything or to secure us funding or anything because we're good for now. It's nice to know that we know who to reach out to when we do want to advance a particular initiative or program or idea. And that is really the point of Healthy UC Davis. So the leadership committee is just hugely valuable in making sure we have that visibility. And of course, you know, in being a chancellor funded initiative, we want to make sure that people know what we're doing and that we're doing some really valuable work. So the next work group is policy change, and I'll take that one on. So policy change was born out of the idea that our UC Davis would really benefit from having a framework on which to build policies that would advance the goal of fostering a culture of well-being. And to our knowledge, no such framework exists. So if, for example, right now we have a student who's we've just signed on, Rachel, who is going to try and help build a healthy beverage policy. And it would be great if she had kind of a step-by-step framework that she could follow, or know who to reach out to, or what have you, but we don't really have anything established at UC Davis. And so the policy change work group was kind of built to help establish that framework. So we're actually in very early days. We've had some setbacks related to COVID-19 and just work setups and just also identifying policies that really work for us right now, because they will be our case study on how to build an effective framework. So we're really recruiting for anyone who has any experience in this area, or who can refer us to avenues for reaching out to leadership to develop healthy policy. So I will be talking about the work group in my section, but if anyone has any information about that, we would definitely appreciate your input, and you can always feel free to email me. But in terms of our work group goal, we want to integrate health considerations in policymaking across sectors at UC Davis and advocate for policies that support health and well-being. So that's kind of a twofold process where we want to make sure that any policies kind of coming through are inclusive of the many dimensions of health that we try and support, as well as making sure that if there is a policy that comes to our attention, such as the healthy beverage policy, and we're in a position to help advance it and push it through, that we can help support our community in being able to do that. So, so that's the goal that we operate with in mind. Our objectives are to form a committee that meets monthly and complete a scan of current policies and policy efforts in motion, again, to make sure that they have a level of consideration to health and wellness where applicable, and also to make sure that the UC Davis community we get a voice, and we were kind of tapped into the beat on what the UC Davis community would like in terms of health and wellness policy, and at least develop an action plan for pursuing at least one health policy for the upcoming school year, or the school year that we are currently in. And so right now, as I mentioned, we are looking at a healthy beverage policy. So if anyone is interested in that, please indicate that in your application that we will send out at the end of the meeting. What we really need is UC Davis policy expertise and student time to help us with research and advancing the policy. So luckily we do have a student, as I mentioned, but if anyone is interested in helping to support that student, or advancing a different policy and they know how to do it, or just a general interest in policy in general, please make sure that you reach out and join our work group. We're looking for people who are hungry for change and also people who know how to make it happen. And regardless of whether you want to join the work group or help support us, we would also appreciate any resources or tools that you know of that can help us advance this cause. Next slide. Okay. So we just gave you guys a lot of information, and I wanted to kind of go through the different types of projects that we do and the work that we've taken on so far to give you an idea of the breadth and the dynamism of the projects that are coming out of Healthy UC Davis. And this is all with the goal in mind that basically what we strive to do is not recreate the wheel. We understand that at UC Davis, there's a whole host of programming that's available to support the different communities based on specific mandates. What we hope to do is create efficiencies to fill in gaps and to lift silos where they might exist in programming, and to really kind of, as we talked about during Sandy's section, create a one-stop shop for anything that's health related at UC Davis, so that if you have any issue about access to care or an idea for a program that would serve the community well, or a micro grant that you might need for an initiative that could help a lot of people, that you know kind of the first person to reach out to maybe help advance that goal. And I think that we've really built a good framework and a flexible one, which I think is really important as well. We're able to kind of take requests and leverage a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different levels of expertise and a lot of different players in general to help make that happen. And so we hope that you'll consider joining us for sure. And if not, that you know that we're out here, and that if you have any ideas or suggestions or needs, especially, that you know that we're the person that you can or we're the organization that you can reach out to help make that happen. And that can look so many different ways. I think so often we kind of limit ourselves to the perception that wellness, that health and wellness is, you know, mental health or physical health or nutrition, but we're looking at things like physical space, like access, like our built environment. We're looking at as many paradigms of health as possible, even diversity, equity, and inclusion. That might seem like, well, you know, is that directly related to health and wellness? But it absolutely is. It contributes to a culture that is healthy, and then that will have a trickle-down effect on our entire community. So we hope that you will join us. Our 2021 objectives are to invite community members to come participate in Healthy UC Davis. That's why we're here today. Fund former and current projects, to continue to communicate, support, and engage the UC Davis community about everything, but especially as it relates to COVID-19, it's of the utmost importance to support culture change through priority work groups and work toward sustainability of our goals. And also very important, especially in the times that we're in, and recognizing that this social reckoning that we're in right now is a priority and is of the utmost importance to partner with the DEI office and various groups to create community belonging that fosters well-being at UC Davis. So we need you. That's why you're here, and hopefully we've convinced you that to come join us and to contribute to the work that we do. We have a lot of different levels of participation and opportunities available. So you can join our steering committee and as a member, and that will be a 1.5-hour meeting per month commitment. And then there will be various requests within the month for any needs or feedback, especially, you know, as we kind of take inventory of who's interested and where they're from, and potentially, you know, contributions that they might be set up well to help us with. We need focus area experts. So we talked about the different focus areas of physical activity, mental and emotional health and well-being, nutrition, and smoking tobacco free, as well as any other focus areas that you think should be included in our understanding of health and well-being, as well as individuals to work on our work groups. And basically, we have meetings once per month to help advance our goals and objectives. And we have a lot of administrative support to kind of help develop reports and things like that. So it's mostly the expertise and the know-how and the resourcefulness that we draw from our members, our work group members. So if you are interested in kind of the time commitments and the, you know, what you're signing up for, essentially, we have our bylaws kind of written out that you can visit, and it'll offer you some detailed information. So if you're ready to apply, the link is on the screen. Our steering committee meets monthly on the third Thursday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. So basically this time slot every month, and work groups may meet monthly or quarterly, depending on if we have something kind of coming through or not. And if you have any questions, feel free to email healthy@ucdavis.edu, and those emails go to everyone on our admin staff, so someone will get back to you. Does anyone have any questions?
Looks like someone had a question whether we would, where was it? Sorry. The bylaws are on the webpage that I just sent you. It is in the About Us section, I believe. And you can find a lot of things on the website. It's not only where we're creating our one-stop shop, but it has our application to join the steering committee, and information on all of our focus areas and work groups are on there as well. And a calendar of events of different partners that are putting on different programs.
There's a question about participation on the steering committee. What if we don't know how we can be involved yet? That's fine. I think if you have any questions, if that's what's kind of your reservation, definitely send us an email and we can chat about what your reservations might be. And if you're just waiting on timing or to find out about scheduling and stuff like that, then you can definitely hold off and just make note of the link. And sign up when you're ready. But if you have any questions specifically about requirements and things, we try and ask for a high level of accountability from our members, but we understand that you're volunteering your time essentially to support this. And so we're not super sticklers, and we're not gonna wag our finger at you if you're for operating the best you can. Just reach out to us and we can figure it out. Oh, you just like to see how you'd be involved. So the application actually, it's mostly just taking note of your name and the areas that we talked about. It'll just ask you which one of them you're most interested in, both in terms of focus area or work group. So whatever kind of stood out to you as an area where you think you can contribute, where you're passionate about, where you're interested or curious about, just indicate that on the application form, and then we'll reach out to you. I got a question privately. Do you present information on Healthy UC Davis staff assembly monthly meetings? We are trying to do more presentations to get our visibility out there and streamline that through the leadership committee. So I can definitely take the staff assembly suggestion to them. We just presented to the ASUCD on Thursday. So as we kind of have built out these groups a little bit more in our strategy, ideally we'll do more presentations and more consistent presentations, but obviously that's also limited by interest and people's availability and time to kind of have us go in. So we haven't been doing the monthly meetings or anything, but it's definitely something that we are open to on our end. It's just about making those connections and creating those opportunities.
And if you also joined today just purely to also pass on the information, you can feel free to contact us and we can try to schedule a presentation to speak to any audiences that you work with. So feel free to reach out to us if you think we could also benefit from their participation in our committee and initiative.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found this presentation useful, and you know, obviously we would love to be in a room and get to see everyone's faces and get to meet everyone. But if you like to even just drop us a line and introduce yourself and your interest in the group, definitely do that. We're pretty friendly, I think. And yeah, we hope to hear more from you and see some of your faces at our meetings moving forward. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you all for taking the time to come to our information session. We really hope you'll join us in some way or another, even if it's just to join in a program or two. We really appreciate all of your support.